Hey, this is Rick Kasalich, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through the best anterior pelvic tilt stretches. And I'll get Jenna to demonstrate the first one, and then I'll go through in detail, and I'll also go through the other 4 that you need to do in order to help with anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, first one. Perfect. That's it. That's all it ends up being. It ends up being the standing quad stretch. And I'll get you to face that way. A lot of times when I end up doing it is I'll end up doing it close to a wall. So you can use this, Jenna. Okay. So I end up getting people to do it close to the wall because we don't need balance for this exercise. What we're focusing on is the stretch. If we wanted to do a balance exercise, then we can take the support away. But she has a support, or you can use the wall so we can target the stretch part. So Jenna's standing on one leg, the leg is soft, then this other leg, she's bringing the heel towards the seat, grabbing the forefoot with her hand, and then pulling the heel towards her seat. And what she's looking for is a stretch in the front of the quads. Now, if she wants to intensify that stretch, she can just bring the knee back a little bit more, and then it'll intensify things in the quad and also intensify things in the front of the hip, really targeting the hip flexors, which tend to be tight in people with an anterior pelvic tilt. Now, looking at the sets, reps, time and intensity, sets would be 1, repetitions would end up being 2. I would recommend alternating back and forth between legs. Time ends up being a good 20 seconds. Intensity ends up being a light stretch. You're looking for a light stretch. Now moving on to the next exercise, the second exercise, that ends up being 90-90 hip flexor stretch. So with this one, Jenna has the front leg at 90, looking at the ankle, knee, and hip, and then same with the back one, hip, knee, and ankle. Big thing to remember is you really want to try to keep this part of the foot flat as much as you can. So it ends up being more effective if you end up having shoes off, but it's fine if you do have shoes on. Just a common mistake people will do is they'll come on the bottom of their foot, they'll go like this, and that decreases how effective the exercise is. So you want to straighten it out, flatten it out as much as you can, and then other things you're doing, you're going to tighten up the abdominal areas, you're going to tighten up the glutes, and then you're going to bring your hips forward. And this ends up being great for the a great stretch for the anterior pelvic tilt because it really counters things, targeting the front of the quads, which tend to be tight, especially in rectus femoris, that double joint quad muscle. Also ends up working on the hip flexors, which tend to be tight in people with anterior pelvic tilt. And that ends up being how to do the 90-90 hip flexor stretch. Now looking at the sets, reps, time, and intensity, we're looking at going through 1 set, 2 repetitions, so alternating back and forth on sides, on each side, so left side, right side, left side. Looking at the time, 20 seconds, intensity, we're looking for a light stretch. Now moving on to the third stretch, of the best stretches to do when it comes to helping with an anterior pelvic tilt, that ends up being the pigeon pose. Perfect. So the most challenging part a lot of times is just getting into the position, and you saw how Jenna did it. Now so she ends up going into like a plank or starting push-up position, then she brings the foot up and bringing that foot to the opposite hand. And then she leans into that front leg and she's working on, stretching out the rotators in that hip, which oftentimes ends up being tight with people with an anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, good. I'll get you to step out, and then maybe we will move this around and we'll go this way. Okay. I'll get you to go through it again. So in that plank position, bringing the foot to the opposite foot, and there you go. So you can see we're really stretching out the rotators of the hip, which oftentimes end up being really tight in people with anterior pelvic tilt. When it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity, you're looking at doing 1 set, repetitions 2, ideally alternating back and forth. Time ends up being 20 seconds, and the intensity of this intensity ends up being a light stretch in those rotators in the hips. You should feel in the hip area, the stretching out. Good. Now, moving on to the fourth one, when it comes to the best stretches and to kind of fix an anterior pelvic tilt, it ends up being back arches. And, yep. Good. Arching through the back, good. And then back to the start. And then going into the back and to the back arch. Perfect. I'll get you to hop up and we'll change the angle that you went through things at. Okay. So going from like a downward dog into that press up or back arch position. So what we're doing here is we're really working on the mobility in that lumbar spine or lower back. A lot of times with people with anterior pelvic tilt, they end up having poor mobility in that lower back, and that ends up contributing to the anterior pelvic tilt even more. So what we want to do is increase that mobility and movement in that lower back in order to help with that anterior pelvic tilt. Perfect. When it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets end up being 1. Repetitions, we want to end up doing 5 repetitions. The time ends up being a couple second hold at the end position, and that could be between 3 to 5 seconds. And the intensity, what we want to do is we want to feel that we're getting mobility or movement in that low back spine area. Now moving on to the 5th and final one, this ends up being single leg happy baby. So you're lying on your back, you're going to pull one knee towards your shoulder, grabbing the foot, and then pulling that knee to the side. Good. So now what we're really working on is that end range in the hip, in the opposite direction, really targeting the glutes and the hamstring. Okay, and then switching sides. So with the left side, left arm, grabbing the left foot, and then really bringing that knee towards the shoulder and working on that end position of the end range of the hip flexors, really targeting the glutes and the hamstrings. Okay, when it comes to the sets, reps, time, and intensity for the single leg happy baby, sets end up being 1, repetitions end up being 2, ideally alternating back and forth between legs. Time ends up being, I would start off with a hold for 10 seconds, and then you can progress that up to 15, and then to 20 seconds. And the intensity ends up being a light stretch in that glute hamstring area. Now give those 5 stretches a go when it comes to dealing with an anterior pelvic tilt. Now, if you want a workout that I end up doing to help fix anterior pelvic tilt, what I recommend you do is click right here. I have a brand new workout for you that'll help you overcome your anterior pelvic tilt. Just click right here, let me know where to send you that workout, and it'll send you that workout right away. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, tablet, smartphone, head down below in the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/tilts. Let me know where to send that workout, and I'll send you that workout right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like this video. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comment section. And then lastly, hit subscribe in order to get future pain relieving videos.